Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode in Skinless Land in the Let's Mod series. So in the previous episode, we put together this thing here, and we did a couple other things, mostly showing off what we've already done in the mod. And now we have the chance to do something cool and new, which is kind of exciting. So let's just get into it already. The first thing that I've done in between episodes is this. The font is now pseudo-readable, which is already a big improvement. I've also added a couple textures into our texture file and made a couple models, but I don't think we'll be getting to that just now. So with that said and done, I'm pretty sure it's about time to head back to our code. So, like I said just there, in the previous episode, we put together that fire generator, and it would be located down here, generator fire. And what we're going to do now is we want to add some functionality to this block. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that it works when it's not powered, and toggling it with a redstone signal turns it off, which that exclamation point right there is for. And next we need to make sure that it checks before generating any power that it is already above a block of lava, and then it can generate its first three. So we're going to give this a couple different generation parameters, which hopefully will hopefully will make it kind of interesting to use. And the first one, of course, is being placed above a heat source, in this case lava. So down here, where is it that I add to the thing's energy? Aha, energy stored plus generation rate. So this is going to be a really simple one. If world.getBlockState at this thing's position down one block, the block at that block state equals lava, then we can do the stuff. So energy stored plus equals generation rate. I'm trying out that fancy operator, the plus equals. I actually hadn't come across that before, so it's kind of new to me. But if I understand it correctly, then it will take this value, add this value, and assign it to this variable. So that should be exactly what we want. Now the next thing we want to try is get a block, or see if there's an item above the crystal or around the crystal or whatever that is incineratable, and then we incinerate it and start generating for some amount of time based on the burn time of that item. So first I need to figure out how to check if something can be burnt. So I'm going to look online for that and be right back. So I think I figured out how to do it. I was looking at the furnace, tile entity furnace. Basically I was just looking at the code in the furnace, and it looks like if I call net.minecraftforge.eventFactor.getItemBurnTime and it returns a 0, then that seems to be the thing to check, I think. So the next thing beyond that is checking for the item around it, because I can't check its burn time if it doesn't exist. So if the world let's see, entity, yeah, get entities within bounding box excluding entity, find nearest entity within which one? I think this one, right? Yeah, probably. And we're going to exclude this. Well, I guess that's not really an entity, it's a tile entity. I don't think that counts. So we're going to exclude null. Or maybe player, but nah. I'd have to find a specific player. Or it doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. So we're going to exclude no entities. And if we look in our code over here, you can see the way I did this before is the same way. Entity list equals that. So I ought to make another list. Let's grab this. Since we already have the things, I might as well not unuse them, or not redo everything. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so if let's see. No, okay. I can't put that in an if statement at the moment, So what I should do is just do entity list equals world dot get entities excluding, and we'll say null and null and box. I made a bounding box already, and we're hopefully going to do that. Okay, apparently I got the wrong yeah, apparently I got the wrong method there. So that's what we want. Now if entity list dot size, so if its size is 0, or if its size is greater than 0, then we can check stuff. So we want to go through this list and check to see if every entity within it is an item, and then check to see if that item is burnable, and then we can do stuff with that information. So let me put that in. Okay, so I think we've got our working code now. It's not too complicated, but it did take a surprisingly long time to put in. So if we did just gather our entity list somewhere, highlighted the wrong thing. we gathered the entity list here, grabbing all the entities within the bounding box that we set up here. Where is it? Where's this dumb bounding box? Oh wait, no, it's actually just here. Alright, so yeah, we gather the entities, and then we iterate through the entities, and if they're entity items, then we get the item stack carried by the item, get its stack size and its burn time, and we take the burn time of that item, divide it by 300 to get the number of generations we want this generator to go through for that item. So for example, a chest burns for 300 ticks, so it would give stack burn a value of 1. And actually, yeah, that's good. Never mind. So from there, if stack burn is greater than 0, so only bother if it matters, if it burns, then we go through this stuff, and this stuff is checks to see if the item has a container item like a lava bucket, or a lava bucket has a bucket as the container item, and then it will go through here and spawn the container item, kill the burnt item, and update the burn time, and it plays little sounds as well. So that's pretty much everything. I also got a cool little utility method here in utilities, which I will add to over time, and this is just a random particle speed for the particles being spawned. Let's see, so random particle speed. Yeah, that's basically it. So there's still one more thing to do, and that is to make sure that these values are saved when the game unloads, which these variables and things are not saved when the game unloads. For that, we need to use NBT tags, and I've currently got this set up. So when we're writing to NBT, we take the tag that we're given, and we need to write artificial artificing burn time, which is what I've got this configured to, I think, and we will set that to burn time. And what that'll do is it'll in this NBT tag, which is being returned to the thing that handles the NBT tags, we're setting the integer that is attached to the name AA burn time to the value burn time. And burn time up here is we we already discussed this. It's how many burns are left, so how many generations are left. And then we also need to be able to read that value. So down here we've already got one, so I don't have to rewrite it. But this read from NBT tag, or read from an NBT method, is given an NBT tag, and we need to handle the data in that thing. So we're going to check to see if it has the right data first to avoid a crash, and that'll be AA burn time, like we just showed up above here. and we will then use that data. So burn time in our tile entity now is being set to the value gotten from the name that is applied to the integer that holds the AA energy value, or in this case, well, now the AA burn time value. So that's what you do with NBT tags, basically. And if you have a lot of data to handle, I'm pretty sure you use these ones, but I haven't actually read up on that, so take that comment with a grain of salt, because it might be wrong. But I think that's what's going on there. However, I think I'm going to give this a shot now, see how things work. I've added a method in our actual block class to tell us how much burn time is equal to. So we should be able to figure out whether things are working or not. But first I have to wait for the game to load. Alright, here we are in game. Let's first see if this works. Yep, burns remaining 0, because it hasn't been fed anything. So first let's try the lava bucket one, which I'm pretty sure is going to work. So let's plop that down, and yeah, it's charging at a rate of 3 oscillation, or 3 hertz per generation. So that works. Now I am also curious whether the flowing lava counts. So let me pop it down here, and let's see. It does count. Okay. We might want to change that. I'm not entirely sure though. It doesn't really matter too much to us. Now, next thing we want to try is tossing the item. And actually I'm going to get rid of that so we're not confused. So it's got 0. And we toss this down. It should eat it. It's not eating it. I see. Okay. How about something with a container item? Did I mess something up there? No. Alright, I'm going to have to add some console commands, see where I went wrong there, and I'll be back in just a moment. So, I've added some print commands, as you can see over on the console there, and what it's doing is checking is entity list empty, true, empty, true, and it's checking the bounding box there because I wanted to make sure the bounding box was in the right location, because I had trouble with that when I was doing the entity generator, or entity mover, the thing that flings stuff. Anyway, so I now know that the box is in the right place, and I can show you the entity list thing in just a second. And it's also checking a couple other things, which will become apparent if you watch the console. So, as I walk closer, it says entity list is empty false, so it's finding me, and entity in list is player 403, which is me. So now we need to know, because it's finding stuff, why is it not working? And if we toss the call down, it says entity in list item.item.call. Instance of entity item, so it even passes the is an entity item check, and stack size is equal to 1, so that works. So the only thing that's failing is the stack burn, so I'm not understanding how to use that method properly. And stack size is just going up there as I toss more coal in. So I'm glad that works. If I toss that in, it gives me 64, and yeah, that's about right. So I need to figure out how to actually use the burn time of things, how to figure out what that is, and then I'll be right back. I think I've got this figured out by now. I figured out that the main problem I was having was with the get item burn time, and so I looked at the furnace and I looked at the code in the forge event thingy. I think I showed that off earlier. I don't know exactly, but basically there was a suspiciously useful looking method by Forge that I took a look at, and a suspiciously useful looking thing in the furnace method. So I looked at both of those, and what I found was that the one I was using, which was the Forge method, was not actually quite useful. I mean, it will return the values for modded items or things like modded items, but the method doesn't actually work for vanilla items. So I had to figure out what the vanilla items used, and that was in the furnace method, which actually I might be able to show you if I can find it fast enough to not be a pain. So basically the forge method has forge items, forge fuels, modded fuels, give a number for how long they ought to burn, and then to use this modded get item burn time, you just are fed back the value that the modded item gives up when you're coding it. The difference here is that the vanilla item has a big list of things, and these things are not included in the forge values. So I was trying to use the forge one, and so I couldn't utilize any vanilla fuels, and now I've sort of combined them over in the utilities class that I have, which now has two methods. I can't believe I closed it because I knew I needed to use it. Anyway, so you can see some you might recognize this code. Yeah, I just copied the list, and whenever I want to get an item burn time, I'll use this utility method instead of recoding it or whatever. I would have thought there'd be a sort of unified method in Forge, but I couldn't find one for the life of me. So I'll be using this one until I either find that or just forever if I don't. But it works. All my other code was actually fine. It was just that one thing that wasn't working. So if we head into our world here, then we can and will show off this generator at last. Okay, so we have our generator here, and it's currently generating from the lava source beneath it. If we activate the lever, it stops generating, so that's all good. And if we throw a burnable item while the lever is activated, nothing happens, which is also good. That's what we want. But if we unactivate it, then we can toss it something, and it'll incinerate it with a little fiery effect. Oh, a little fiery effect, and and it gets eaten. So now we have 13 burns remaining, and each burn gives a fairly substantial amount of energy. So that's all good. And I have tested this. Burns up the lava, but leaves behind the bucket. And that's pretty nice. And you can see that if we look at this, it's got 134 burns remaining. And if we toss it a coal, then that's 136 burns remaining, so maybe 5-ish if it hadn't burned much. Or if we toss a couple of sticks, one more, and that gives one burn. So it's proportional to how much you toss it, and the fuel values rather. So, like I said, the coal is about 4, and the lava bucket is about 70 or 60. So that's all good. And as you saw just a moment ago, it won't actually burn things that have too small a fuel value to be useful to it. Instead, it'll leave them there until you build the stack up enough for it to generate at least one burn. It won't add half a burn that gets rounded down to 0 after burning up your stick. is the main point. So that's all pretty good, and you can toss it a whole stack. It gives it a bunch. So, oh, can't get this out. Sorry, my controls are a little bit nasty at the moment. So 484, toss the coal, and it gets another 400 basically from that big stack of coal. So, oh, and it overflowed. So that is also one thing I want to do something about, the explosions. Currently there's no real way of monitoring the energy level and doing something about it. You can of course power things, and that'll turn off the generation and things like that. So if we create some monitoring system, then we'll be able to turn things off when it gets nasty, but I don't actually have any way of telling how much energy is in the system at the moment, so I need to do that. That'll probably be an item for the next episode, or the episode after that, or something, actually. Although I do have other plans, which will be pretty fun. But yeah, for that I'm sort of thinking another transfer pipe, except if it gets too high with energy, if you set it a value, and if it exceeds that value, then it emits redstone, and you can use that to turn off the generators and things. That's the plan, at least. However, I think that'll be it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We got something fairly productive done. This thing's very cool. I like it a lot. And I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.